world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie
Welcome back,
Podcast.
everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. We really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. My man Brian has done a fantastic job with the website. He's got it looking great. Everything about our podcast is on there. All of our episodes and interviews from episode 1 to our weekly release. If you want to check out all of our episodes there, maybe you have an office job, don't have access to your phone, you can listen on your desktop computer. We've done some incredible interviews in the past with some of the biggest names in horror, some of your favorite slashers, writers, directors. Check out our interviews if you haven't heard those yet. We got our store. We got some new T-shirts. Brian and Dustin have done some fantastic designs if you want to check those out. And we also have Shan's Etsy page attached as well if you want to grab a tumbler. And we also have our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We love interacting with our fans. We love, meeting new people. We love answering your comments and questions on the air. So definitely check us out on social media. And the last thing I want to shout out is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. You're a big fan of our podcast, a big fan of our show. You want to help support us. That option is available. And we also have one-time donations. If you want to donate and, if you have a film review you want us to do, that option is available as well. All right, guys, let's jump into the film review. We're kicking off my theme month, something I called, just subgenre month. Just to, like I said last week, add a little razzle dazzle to the month. All of us, we've done almost 300 film reviews. We've gotten to know these guys the past 3 years. I know some of our favorite subgenres of horror, and this week is Brian's week, and I gave him found footage. Brian, you want to announce your pick tonight, brother?
Man, and I love me some found footage. I said off air, I'm excited for this month because I think I like all of the movies that we picked except for one. But, I chose the 2016 requel, Blair Witch. Like I've said before, I pretend the Book of Shadows, the non-found footage movie Book of Shadows, doesn't exist. And this is the true sequel to the 1998 original anyway. And I think this not only fantastic, but is superior to the original, in my opinion. And I'm probably by myself on that one. But I think the performances are really good. I think it not only captures the atmosphere of the original, but every time I watch this, I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat. I think it does a great job with tension. There's one kill, you really get to see, and that's, one of, and this may be a hot take, but it's one of, if not the favorite kill in any horror movie for me ever. Because the first time I watched this, I distinctly remember 6 years ago standing up in my living room going, holy shit, because it was so surprising to me when it happened. But, the first one, which Justin wasn't part of, unfortunately, I do recognize was really hard to take notes on. And this one is really not much different for me. So hopefully we can scrap together some good content for you guys on this one. And, the last thing I wanted to say is 99 Blair Witch, I think, had so much going for it, like the internet not being what it is now. Is it true? Is it not? Listen to our episode, don'tgoouthere.com. Episode 11, I think it was. Woof. But this one didn't have that. And props to Adam Wingard and co-writer Simon Barrett. I think that they were able to make a superior movie without that for today's audience. Now, I do hate 85% of the jump scares, but again, the tension and in some parts claustrophobia was big time for me. So I'm excited to do this one. But if you aren't a fan of the original, I would be shocked if you like this one. Otherwise, y'all just crazy.
All right. I'm just going to repeat what Brian just said. No, seriously, though, I watched Chris Stuckman's review of this because there's not a lot of content out there from the YouTubers I follow. And he said it just like you did, Brian. If you're not a fan of the original, you probably won't like this one. And I was texting with, I believe it was Dustin earlier this week, and I was like, man, this movie just reminds me of Grave Encounters, but in the woods. And if y'all remember our review of Grave Encounters, I wasn't a huge fan of that. I think one of my biggest qualms is, like in Grave Encounters, once they got in the hospital, once they're out in the woods, it's hopeless for them. Like there's no chance of getting out. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me, man. I just wasn't a huge fan. There's a lot of fake jump scares throughout the movie. I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, this one's I'm not a big fan of this one, but I do need to go rewatch the original Blair Witch because, like Brian mentioned, definitely one of our very, very first episodes. We've gotten a lot better as a group of podcasters since then. Need to go revisit that one, but I'll just go ahead and say it now. I'm not a huge fan of this one. Go ahead, Dustin.
I like the original a lot more than this one. You're right. I wasn't on that original episode, Brian, but that movie stuck with me in 99 when it came out. I remember vividly stayed the night at my friend Rusty's house. He lived behind a movie rental place, like it was up the hill, and we walked up the hill and rented 2 movies. We rented Blair Witch Project and The Waterboy. We watched The Waterboy first, watched Blair Witch Project second, watched The Waterboy 3 more times before we could go to sleep. That movie fucked with us, but
3 more times.
Brother, I was 9 years old. That shit, or no, I guess I was 11 years old. That movie scared the shit out of me. But because, like you said, you didn't know if it was real or not. I think this one suffers in that fact because with it being a sequel, you know the deal. You know what's going on. And you're right. I don't include 2006 or Book Shadows, whatever the hell. That movie sucked. So
terrible.
This one's certainly better than that. But to me, it seemed lazy at points. It took too long to get going. And then once they got in the woods, it's like, I mean, I know the deal. I know what's going on. But it's not to say that it doesn't have its positives, which I'll get into that in scene by scene. I didn't love this movie. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it at all.
All right, guys. Any more opening thoughts before we jump into the scene by scene?
No, let's do it.
All righty. We're not going to have Mike with us again tonight. He's still getting situated from vacation, but he'll be back next week. Yeah, his 3rd, 4th vacation of the year already. The following footage was assembled from memory cards and DV tapes found near Burkittsville, Maryland in the Black Hills Forest on May 15, 2014. We now see James watching the video thinking he sees his sister, Heather, in this dilapidated house. He tells Lisa a guy found this tape in the Black Hills Forest. Peter and Ashley walk in and say the documentary is boring. James tries on the earpiece now, and it has built-in GPS. Lisa now reads about James' sister, Heather, and the footage found. The area was extensively searched, but the house was never found, but her equipment was found. Lisa asks Peter how long he's known James and about Heather's disappearance. Peter tells Lisa that James messaged the guy who found the video, and he's going to show them where it was. Peter and James both don't answer about believing in the Blair Witch. Peter tells Lisa not to tell anyone so it doesn't seem like she's exploiting him for her movie. Lisa tests out the drone now and the walkie-talkies. The 4 load up and get to the motel. Next day, they make it to Lane and Talia's. Lane tells James he's only agrees to take them if they can go with him, no exceptions. Peter is not on board, but he agrees. We see both vehicles heading into the forest now. They park and James hands out the video equipment. Peter clowns on Lane's videos he saw and asks if he really believes in all this stuff. Lane speaks on the woods' history and how the town just wanted to forget it. Talia now tells him of Rustin Parr and his 8 kids, hearing a voice of an old woman to kill them. Peter laughs as Lane says no one living cares if they enter the woods. Lane is pissed and walks off as the others laugh. They get to the spot where they found the DV tape and now have to cross a creek. Talia asks Lane if he's sure this is a good idea. Ashley cuts her foot on a rock pretty badly, and James gives her first aid. They hang up their wet clothes and set their tents up. Peter is getting his ass kicked putting his tent up. Peter leaves to gather firewood as Ashley uses the drone. Unfortunately, they don't see anything. They roast some weenies and marshmallows now over a fire until Lisa walks up asking Talia about who the Blair Witch is. Lane says she was tied up in a tree with heavy weights attached, and the woods have been cursed ever since. Peter was a member of one of the search teams, and nothing got him. Lane says another theory that you have to be in the woods at night for the witch to get you, and they go to bed now. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Okay, so first and foremost, let me just say, this movie does take its time to build up. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there's a lot of situational same beats as 99's Blair Witch, but I mean, that's kind of the formula for all requels, right? Like, that we've kind of come to know. I was fine with it in Scream. I was fine with it in Creed. I mean, the list goes on and on with the requels, but seeing a lot of the same beats, I can definitely understand, Nico, I understand you especially not liking this one. So look, this is not real, obviously, but a few things about this and found footage in general, since most of this whole thing is just a whole set of scenes is really character introductions here. Nico has mentioned before, one of the things that keeps him, and stop me if I'm wrong or saying you said this, but I could have sworn you said this. But one of the things that keeps you from really liking some of the found footage genre, many things, but one thing you mentioned was who edits this, right? I think you said that before. Personally, I like to look at these things as documentaries. Like they found this footage, supposedly, edit it together, and then release it to us, the world, as a documentary. Okay. Now, I mean, how are they finding this fucking footage, though, in the woods if they can't find this house? Like, because you'll find out later, Heather's camera is and was in there from 99s. And now, at least a couple of these cats, I mean, I don't know. Time works differently, I know, but I don't want an explanation for that one, but I do. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So we're back in Burkittsville. Fact I found pretty funny. Officials apparently took down most of the "Welcome to Burkittsville" signs before the film premiered because so many were stolen following the release of the first movie. Hit up my DMs if you have one and listen to the show. I would may want to black market buy one of those from you. But so yeah, we get the character introductions, and I like all of them. I mean, I personally think Callie Hernandez as Lisa is far and away the best acted and written character of the film. Lane is just the fucking worst, but in a good way. Wes Robinson, I think, does a great job with him in making me hate that douchebag. In fact, in my opinion, Peter should have beat his ass in the next set of scenes, but we'll get there with some of my script doctoring. But as far as this goes, don't have their motivation, or I guess James's motivation, because he thinks he saw a sister, which the picture looked like a 70-year-old woman on the YouTube channel anyway, by the way. But just have him want to go looking for her because it's his sister. Like, I didn't like the YouTube frozen frame aspect, all these years later. I don't know. It didn't feel right for me. I also feel like the drone was set up here, but really not ever even used. Otherwise, there's just not a whole lot here in the set of scenes. I think this is my least favorite set of scenes in the movie. Honestly, like I said, it takes time to build up, but this friend group just all doesn't seem close, or else, Lane and Talia are throwing it off. I don't know. None of which matters after this set of scenes, really. But here, it sticks out like a sore thumb to me. And the last thing I'll say is Ashley, severely underused, I feel like. I know there were a ton of cut scenes, like always with found footage, and maybe her character fell mostly on the cutting room floor. But regardless, I know all she does is sprain her ankle here. But it's another setup, I feel like, that should have been played up more when it comes time later on. That's all. But that's all I had.
Yeah, definitely my least favorite set of scenes. This set of scenes drug ass. And I don't care about any of these characters. Like, I get James's motivation to go out in the woods, but the rest of them I just don't. And another thing that I have a problem with is the naming of these characters. These people are too young to have names like Lisa. And have you ever met a black guy named Peter other than Peter Bolware? These names are horrible. Who came up with this? But anyway,
Peter Work.
I do like the little blurb, at the beginning about how this was assembled from found footage right before the intense chase scene. And we get a look at James' sister in the mirror. Like, I appreciate that. Letting us know what we're in for, letting us know, like I said, with previous found footage movies, it has to make sense that they would be recording the whole thing. And this one's letting us know off rip why they were recording it and how we got the footage. Appreciate that. And I also like the look at Heather that we get there, just because it ties us in with the original. And I can appreciate that. And like I said, I wasn't on the original review, but that movie freaked me out. So the first time I'm watching this movie, I think it was about a year and a half ago. Maybe it's been 2 years now. I don't remember. But the first time I watched this movie, because I was so skeptical after Book of Shadows, it took me a long time. But I was hopeful at this point in the movie, because I was like, okay, they're tying it in with the original. And, I'm hopeful because that one, I liked it. But it feels a little bit typical at times of found footage. Like for the initial introduction, it's like a standard, who are you, what's your role, how you feeling kind of stuff. It just didn't, I don't know, it didn't work for me. And it's not just this movie that's exclusive to it. It happens a lot. And then it's just so slow. Like, the build doesn't make me care about these characters as much as it should. Peter's antagonizing of Lane is more annoying and predictable than I'd like. Or vice versa. Like, their whole dynamic was just annoying to me. And just as, of course, Peter's not going to believe the hype, and you got to have the one skeptical guy, right? Like, it just seems a little typical to me. And Ashley's whole screaming shit in the water is unnecessary drama to me. This opening scene is just really just dragging on. We know the Blair Witch Saga at this point. We know what we're getting into. And I get it. You're trying to introduce it to a new generation, new people, but surely they've at least heard of the Blair Witch Project by now. And if you're going to go see this one, I would hope you would have seen the original or at least know the story. So there's just no need to prolong getting into the action to me. And then finally, when they're at the campfire talking about the witch, like I feel invested again, finally. Spent a good chunk of time just yucking it up and walking through the woods, and we almost forget why they're out here. And so I definitely do not like this set of scenes. It's the worst set of scenes in the movie, unfortunately.
All right, they hear a loud noise in the night, and Lisa jump scares him as she jumps in the tent. Talia says Lane's missing as the others say they're okay. Lane doesn't answer, so James and Talia go look for him. Lane jump scares them, suddenly appearing saying he looked for the noises. Next morning, they wake up and there's Blair Witch symbols hung all over their campsite. They all agree to leave. This is too weird. They begin to head back to their vehicles, and Lisa asks about Lane's camera. She seems suspicious of him. Ashley has a pain in her foot, and Lisa finds rope in Lane's bag that looks like the same kind used at the campsite. They're pissed when they realize Lane and Talia faked it. Talia says they didn't fake the noises, and how did they sleep until 2 p.m.? Lane is pissed, and they walk off. He turns around and says he has no GPS, and they snap on him for lying about not knowing the woods. Peter drops his bag and chases after him, and they take off running. They feel a little relief and less scared now and begin hiking to leave again. James is in shock when he realizes they're back to their campsite. Peter is furious, and they go to leave again, but Ashley's foot is in a lot of pain. They decide to make camp again tonight so her foot can heal. Lisa and James both think they're hearing voices and noises. Ashley says she's freezing, and Peter sees her wound is not healing. He's scared when it looks like a parasite has gotten into it and spasms. He goes and tells James what's going on as Lisa tries out the drone. Peter leaves to get more firewood. Lisa shows James she doesn't see a creek, road, or anything, and the drone crashes. James tells Lisa that Ashley has an infection and a fever, and they have to get her to the hospital ASAP. Peter stops as his walkie-talkie goes off. It's not James, though, as he hears loud static. His flashlight begins to flicker, and he hears a thud and wolves. He sees a figure walking and takes off running. A tree falls on Peter, and we see his body drug away as James radios for him. James finds the fallen tree and his flashlight, but no Peter. All right, Brian, this next set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
All right, so first of all, here with this, like, let me point out cinematography, but what I mean by that is that grand scale kind of that you get with this one and the woods more in particular that you didn't get with the first one. I guess that's the only use for that dumbass drone, but shout out to Wingard and cinematographer Robbie Baumgartner, Rowan-Gardner. Nah, it's Baumgartner. But he did Argo, No Country for Old Men, Hunger Games. Great one there. A little fun fact in this group of scenes, though, where the drone crashes, they actually tried a few different things to get the POV footage of that drone crashing in. The drone pilot did it successfully at one point, but he wasn't filming. Afterwards, they tried launching a GoPro into the trees with a slingshot, but lost it in the woods. Eventually, the director settled for just running through the brush himself with another GoPro to get the shot. So there's probably half the damn budget just on those things. But something else I wanted to give praise to is not necessarily the soundtrack. Yeah, I guess in the usual sense, but the way that the movie uses sounds, like a lot like I praised A Quiet Place for. But now, yeah, these jump scares are, I said it in the first set, in the opening, I think they're fucking aggravating. But I will say, I do understand the want to include that. I guess, especially if you went away from the gore like they had originally planned for this and kind of backed off of. I don't agree with that, but I understand why they used it. From the first night on, I think, like I mentioned in my open as well, the tension for me is really built up and not really let go the rest of the time, in my opinion, anyway. By the way, what would be an interesting development in this franchise? Like, have someone carry a fucking pistol out in the woods. Like, that would be a nice little wrinkle to introduce to this whole thing. People going crazy out there and have a gun seems interesting to me anyway. I just random thoughts while I was watching the movie, but also Peter, I think, like I mentioned, he should have beat Lane's ass, and not just because he's a douche and it would have been fun to see, but if you have him beat his ass and then like he disappears later on, you still kind of have that lingering, and you're thinking, is it all just maybe Lane doing this shit and not, some supernatural witch? I don't know. It's just have doubts, and maybe that could have been cool as well. I don't know. Again, give me some more of this. According to the director, this is like roots and trees and shit and Ashley's wounds, but Give me some more of that. Not real sure why it's moving and if it's roots and shit, but if so, why is Peter like, all right, I'm out, instead of seriously getting James and getting in there and like digging around and trying to pull it out of her foot or something. But I don't know. He had a fever and the only cure was more root foot, baby. That's what I like. Last thing, I kind of wish would have kind of come back into play later, but for some reason when James is looking for Peter and says, press the button twice on his radio, 2 clicks on the walkie or whatever, I kind of wish later, like in the house, he would have gotten 2 clicks on it and been like, oh shit, Peter. I don't know. For some reason, when I was watching that, I kind of was hoping that would come back into play too, but that's all I had.
So when they're in the tents and they hear the noise and stuff, I finally get a small dose of deja vu from the original. Like, I finally remember how the first one made me feel, and I remember like it's a scary situation, uncomfortable situation at the least. And then Lisa jumping into the tent, that was a very effective jump scare for me because, like, yeah, I get it. It was kind of a false jump scare, stupid, because it's no different than a cat being around the corner. But at the same time, it's such a tense situation, and she was just as scared. So I like that one. And then Lane missing, yeah, sorry, bro, you're just gone. We all know the lore of these woods. Fuck that. And when he crashes back into them, gives us the jump scare there. Yeah, when the sun comes up, buddy, you're gonna see my hands. Fuck you. This is unnecessary. Then when I wake up and I see all those sticks tied together in the trees like that, making the Blair Witch symbol and everything, I'm gone. Like, I don't care who's potentially out there. I'm leaving, and I'm not gonna stick together. I'm just gonna run in a beeline. And I get it. They tried to escape, and they ended up, back at one like Brian McKnight. But fuck that, dude. I'm gone. And then when Lane and Talia were discovered as the culprits there, like that strike 2 on Lane, I'm whooping his ass. But I don't like that. I don't like how the movie did that at all. Pitting members of the group against each other, like, it's just so unnecessary to me, especially how conveniently that rope was found. Like, it wasn't even down in his bag. His bag was halfway open and the rope was sticking out. It's like, oh, you asshole, did you do this? Like, to me, that was terrible. And then Ashley's foot thing was just another completely unnecessary plot point to me. Like, the witch thing is supernatural enough. We don't need a possessed wound. We don't need to see the wound pulsating like that and all that shit. Like, I don't know. It was unneeded. She got a bum foot. That's good enough. She's hurt. You don't have to make it, another character. But for all the negatives, though, something that the movie does right is how unsettling it is when Peter's carrying the sticks and his radio goes haywire like that. The shrieking and the flashlight malfunction, like, it's creepy. You can't see shit, but you know something bad is out there, and then a damn tree is used as a weapon. Like, I appreciate that. Trees being used as a weapon, that's cool. It's innovative for our show. But the action's picking up. I just can't say this necessarily getting better as a movie, but the action's picking up, and you feel your heart beating a little faster, so I can appreciate that.
All right, back to the camp, and Lisa is scared by Ashley, who says she doesn't feel good, asking where's Peter. James jump scares Lisa now, saying he found his flashlight. She tries to comfort him, but they hear a branch snap outside. They exit the tent and see Lane and Talia. Lane says it's a trick, asking when they last saw them. Lane tells Talia it's all a trick. Lane says the sun won't rise. It's been 5 days. Lane says they're going to die, but not me, and storms off. Talia joins them at the fire. A cell phone buzzes. It's 7 a.m., but it's still dark outside. They pack up and see piles of rocks and more Blair Witch symbols. Talia jump scares them as they check the weather cam. Ashley looks terrible as she asks, why is Talia here? She cries when she's told the drone has crashed. Talia finds a symbol with her hair on it. Ashley grabs the symbol, snapping it in half, and it snaps Talia in half as well. They all begin to panic, and suddenly their tent is launched in the air, and they take off running. It lands in front of them, splitting them up. James and Lisa reconnect but can't find Ashley. Ashley yells out for them, but to no answer. She stops and sees her leg bleeding. She squeezes pus out and pulls out this worm-looking parasite. They yell out to her, but no answer. They hear Peter on the radio saying, help me, and suddenly a loud noise. Branches break and Lisa is disoriented. James consoles her and they keep going. Ashley continues to wander until she sees the drone in a tree. Her controller won't work, so she climbs up after it. She reaches for the drone and a hand slaps her arm and she falls below and is dragged away. James and Lisa continue calling for Ashley until they hear a woman screaming. They follow the screams thinking it's Ashley. They make it to a house, and James is in shock. They found it. James hears a voice thinking it's his sister, Heather. James leaves Lisa outside and goes in. He calls for Heather. He goes in her room seeing Rust and Parr looking into the corner. He hears Heather calling for him and goes up the stairs. He sees a woman go up more stairs and chases after her. He follows a person into a room who disappears once he gets in there. He looks all around and the door slams shut. He yells for Heather as he sees handprints all over the wall. And the next set of scenes are ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so, this set of scenes through the rest of the movie to me is just balls to the wall, just tension fueled. Holy shit, just nightmare fuel. And it starts for me personally as soon as Talia and Dipshit get back to the camp. And you kind of get this like time paradox thing. And I'm not really sure if I really love that personally. I do think it's just, I think if it had just never gotten day again, I think that's sufficient enough. But it at least gets me like leaning forward and being like, oh shit, okay, what's going on here? This is different from the original, which I did like. But damn, Talia's kill. Like I said in the open, man, when I first watched this, you can ask my wife. Like I stood up in the living room and was like, holy shit. As soon as that happened at the TV, I mean, it was totally unexpected. And like I said, that makes one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite horror kills of all time. Just amazing. And that tent flying back and then like coming back on them a few seconds later and hitting them as they're running. I kind of wish that had been like a body, as weird as that sounds. I wish it was like Ashley or Talia that got sucked away. And then, instead of the tent, that would have been fucking cool to have it been like, a body come back and hit them from, down while they were running. Do it with Talia. She's already dead and already like been in half. I don't know. Could have been cool. Gruesome effects though on Ashley pulling that quote root out of her leg. Although that I wish it had been a little bit more apparent because it looked to me like it was some sort of like lizard or something, like, especially when you had it moving last set of scenes. But, I don't know. I digress. The impressive thing to me was that it was done practically without any CGI, which is awesome. But I've watched this a few times and I don't understand where, I didn't understand where that cut came from, on her leg, since the other one was on her foot. Simon Barrett, the co-writer, said in a tweet that it was just the root moving deeper. But I mean, come on, that should have been more apparent to me. I thought maybe she got it when she was running through the woods, but the pus to me indicated infection. So I don't know, but her kill was pretty cool though. I mean, although she wasn't the one I recall flying the drone earlier, it was always Lisa, I think, but it was, I don't know, it was all just basically a long way to have her drug off screen, I guess. Meh, it was all right. Again, the only part of this I don't really care for is James thinking he hears his sister. I mean, again, it's been 17 years, right? Like, you wouldn't know what she sounded like. But, I mean, I guess I can forgive that to an extent, since the ending, the next set of scenes, you kind of realize that they're hearing stuff that we can't hear ourselves. But I don't know. Regardless, this is my favorite set of scenes.
So the interaction with Lane and Talia is wild to me. Like him saying it's been 5 to 6 days. That's insane. At this point, you kind of start to question, like, what the hell's going on? You feel like you're stuck in the woods with them.
Right.
So I do appreciate the time manipulation addition to the witch's powers. I appreciated that. That's cool. And then all the stick figures now added with the fact that it's 7 and still pitch black dark outside. Like, I'm officially freaking the fuck out. And again, trying to leave no matter what. Fuck all the equipment. Fuck you. I'm on my own. I'm out. But then what the fuck happened to Talia? Like, she just snapped in half for no reason. Like, what happened? I don't know. I wish we'd have got a clearer look or a better explanation. Like, she just folded like a lawn chair. Okay. And then also, I could have gone my entire life without seeing Ashley's leg pus like that, and then her pull whatever the fuck that was out of it. Like, gross. That was not a welcome sight. And then when old girl finds the drone, like, she climbs a big ass tree, gets her hand smacked like that shit. And then when she falls out the tree, that was not supposed to be that funny. Like, she's reaching for it, then you hear a smack, like, get out of the damn cookie jar, and she falls out of the tree. That shit was so funny to me. It's a nice break in the tension that we've got going on. And then next, my guy, you're a little too eager and excited to have found this house. Like, after all the shit you've been through, I'd be more freaked the fuck out than anything. I get it. You think your sister's inside, but nah, still got to be a little apprehensive here. And then what's on the inside? Nope. Hell no. In nomine Patris, Filii, Spiritus Sancti. Bye-bye. I'm out. I'm crossing my chest like I'm Catholic, and I'm out of here. But I do like the nod to the original movie with Buddy standing in the corner like that. That was a very good nod to 99 Blair Witch Project. And then it's a very effective jump scare again when James is locked in the room and we see the woman's figure kind of coming at him that disappears like that. I really appreciated that. So I will give you that. This is probably my favorite set of scenes as well, if I had to pick one, because the intensity, the action, the oh shit of the situation. So I can appreciate that.
All right, here's the ending. Back to Lisa, and she sees a figure behind a broken tree running inside, calling for James. She goes into the basement and is jump scared by Lane. He says she has to do what she tells her, bashing her in the head. He drags her down a hall and throws her down a cellar door, locking her down there. She sees some tunnels and begins to crawl through it. She stops and cries as she gets stuck. She presses forward when she calms down. She hears grunting and crawls faster. She pulls out her knife and breaks out a tunnel. She barricades it and stabs Lane to death as he runs up on her. Lisa runs up the stairs and is now being chased by a ghoulish figure. She and James reconnect and they're in the attic. A bright light fills the room. James yells to get in the corner. The door is broken down as James says she only takes sacrifices, can't look directly at her. James apologizes to Lisa, saying it's all his fault. James hears Heather's voice and turns around and is pulled away swiftly. Lisa cries out James's name and uses the camera to walk backwards towards the door. The witch appears and disappears quickly and she screams. Lisa keeps walking backwards until she thinks she hears James' voice apologizing. She's knocked out and drops the camera and the film ends. All right, Brian, what do you think about the ending?
Okay, so first thing that threw me off when I was researching this movie, the alien from Signs looking, quote, witch, apparently isn't the witch, according to an interview with screenwriter Simon Barrett. So that raises the question, who the fuck was it? It's revealed here that this movie really kind of kicks off with that, like I was talked about earlier, that stupid YouTube video and James seeing who he thinks may be Heather, but ends up being Lisa as she runs by the mirror at around, an hour or 17 minutes. And that this entire thing is some sort of like time loop. So it's been put out that what if the monster is Heather herself? I don't know, but it's definitely not defined here. Some sort of Inception level shit going on here with this time paradox thing. But yeah, this ending was fucking nuts. And I think it was very good. Lisa crawling through that tunnel. Whew, that may have given me claustrophobia worse than The Descent did. That tunnel was 50 feet long and featured those tight spots that were crafted specifically for Calia Hernandez's shoulder width. And one camera operator had a panic attack and had to be replaced for the scene. Yeah, I get that. I fucking get that. Some other cool things about this ending, though, at around an hour and 11 minutes, just before Lisa runs into Lane in the basement, her camera pans across the floor. There you can see Heather's camera lying on the ground where it likely supposedly fell at the beginning or the end of the original film. Again, very cool Easter egg. But again, like how are people finding this footage? But I don't know, Blair Witch franchise, super fans, write in, tell me what's up. I don't understand that part. But the last thing, again, going back to this time paradox thing that kind of blew my mind a little bit, and something I didn't understand until my second viewing anyway. But, when Lisa runs frantically up the stairs in the attic, and it's right at about an hour and 17 minutes, she's briefly picked up in the mirror with her camera. That reflection is the image that James finds of, quote, Heather at the beginning of the film that convinces him to investigate in the woods to begin with. That I didn't really care for, but it's crazy. It's fucking crazy, but it was creepy. And so I won me over.
Yeah. Something that I don't get is when Lisa sees the witch, or, I read that that wasn't supposed to be the witch. That's supposed to be one of the witch's victims. The long figure, the long arms, whatever. Why did that thing hide? Like, if that is the witch or whatever, if you're so powerful and whatnot, why duck back behind the tree right there? That was just annoying to me. There's no reason for it. And then after Lane's bullshit, when she climbs through the tunnel, yeah, like you said, can you get any more claustrophobic? Jesus, that was uncomfortable. And then she finally gets to where she can stand up, and Lane runs at her looking like he's old Greg doing cosplay about to ask her if she's ever drank Bailey's from a shoe. Yeah, I'd have stabbed him too. Fuck. I mean, dude, what do you expect to happen? And then next, she's hearing all this growling and shit. And when she sees the witch, her thought is to run upstairs. I make that make sense. Why run upstairs in that situation? Okay. And then the whole with her and James standing in the room, and he's like, "Don't look. Look in the corner. Don't look at it. It's got to take a sacrifice, but just don't look." And then she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be fine. Just can't make eye contact." Seemed a little too convenient, like a late thing that was just shoehorned in for convenience sake. So I actually didn't like this ending. It was tense. It captured that. It did an effective job at that. But as far as the overall ending, like it didn't really work for me.
All right, guys, let's jump on our social media. We'll do Twitter first. Go Dogs. Randy Smith said, "Great pick. I do agree this is the best in the franchise, but it had nowhere near the buzz or the marketing of the original. The second is one of the biggest piles of shit, but it does have an awesome soundtrack." Duly noted. I will not watch that movie unless I'm forced to. Teammate of the show, Kevin Scanlon, commented, "Great pick, Brian. I stand with you on this film. Those other fools don't like movies, so have fun defending this one with a salute emoji." Man, that wasn't called for, bro.
Ain't my fault. Y'all got bad taste.
Wow.
Hey, whoa. All right, let's jump over to Instagram now. Julia_Eve commented, "Awesome. I love the found footage subgenre." And she said she can't wait for us to do Deborah Logan, so that's coming down the road. Fairy Chick commented, "Excited for this one. Love found footage movies. How do you think this one compares to the original? Any real scares for you, or was it kind of predictable?"
To me, it was predictable because, like, you know what the original was. The original was more like Brian said, no internet. We were convinced at school that this shit really happened. These are real people. Right. There was no known actors in the movie, which there's not in this one either. But it looked and it felt like it was real. So, but then you get part 3 of the franchise. Like, yeah, it's predictable. We know what's going to happen. They're going to get fucked over in the woods somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that to an extent, but I also obviously, like I said, I think it's superior to the original, but I think it's because I think they did enough new things. And I think that, it was enough where you recognized, okay, yeah, this is Blair Witch, but they tried to take it to the next level with a few things. And I appreciated that.
I'm going to agree with both of you saying that it was kind of predictable just because we knew what happened in the first one. Any real scares, though, Fairy Chick? I will say I did get a pop out of when Talia gets snapped in half. Wasn't expecting that. And when that yellow tent got launched into the air. I didn't see that coming either, so I did like that. That was a hectic moment. And the best username on Instagram, Optional 13th Ghost, commented, "I remember renting this movie from a red box when it came out. I don't remember much about it, but I'm happy the series decided to return to its found footage roots after Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows." And then he followed up with, "Thank you, I appreciate that. Been a fan of your show for a long time, and I always look forward to listening to the latest episodes." I appreciate that, man. We love the good feedback.
Absolutely.
That's the end of social media. If you guys have any fun facts.
Wait, didn't Missy Hutchinson Wall have one?
Yeah, she did on the other one. She said, "Simply put, it stinks." I forgot I had 2 posts of it. I forgot to read the other one. But yeah, she did say that.
Thanks for reminding him.
You're welcome.
I am a menace.
Sure. The only one I have is that the movie was marketed as, quote, The Woods for the title. And then at Comic-Con, they gave the old switcheroo and was like, "Oh, yeah, this is a Blair Witch, motherfuckers." And so apparently that was pretty cool. I don't really remember a whole lot about that, but it was a big thing in 2016.
So, yeah, I just got a couple here. Director Adam Wingard's used air horns on set in order to get the right jump scares out of his actors. That's pretty effective. Everyone is afraid of a good air horn. The last one you kind of mentioned, but I'll say it again. The first draft of the script was very gory, and the filmmakers felt that it didn't seem right for the franchise. I think it's a bad idea, bad decision to take that out. This movie could have used some more gore, in my opinion. Then lastly, I'll do the budget since Money Mike's not here. Had a $5 million estimated budget. It ended up grossing $45,173,154 worldwide, and that included $9.5 million opening weekend in the U.S.
Nice.
Wow.
And I think the gore would have helped it to differentiate itself from the first one as well. I think it would have been a nice change.
Yeah. As much money as made, I'm surprised they didn't do another one considering how cheap you can make these.
Don't say that loud.
Do
Don't say
not
that
put
loud.
that out there in the universe.
I'm just saying. I'm surprised they didn't. I mean, hell, they're
sorry.
making cocaine
looking
bear,
forward to it.
cocaine shark, cocaine raccoon. I mean, why not? You know. All right, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rate, and I'll kick us off. Favorite kill has got to go to Talia. It got the biggest pop out of me. I didn't see it coming. Thought it was an awesome looking kill. Least favorite, I mean, I'll go with James and Lisa at the end. They just kind of get pulled down and drug away. You don't see anything. I feel like all of the kills were pretty bad except Talia's. Rating, like I mentioned earlier, it kind of just reminds me of Grave Encounters, but in the woods. Not a huge fan. Don't plan on ever really watching this movie again. No offense to Brian, I'm not a big found footage fan in general, and I wasn't a big Blair Witch fan. Just, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. So I gave it a 3 out of 10, just like I did Grave Encounters.
What's up, everybody? It's Mike here. Sorry I've missed the last few weeks. It's been a crazy time. Also, this is my yearly vacation, so I had to dip out during Little Monsters, and we had a lot going on the 2 shows that surrounded that show. So I'll be very excited to be back next week when we review Ghostbusters 2. But until then, I do have some thoughts on Blair Witch. I actually really like this Blair Witch better than the original. While it lacks that homemade VHS feel, it makes up for that with having some actual story and lore. I really like the way the movie is shot, and I've seen complaints about that. I like going back to the woods. I think it's a very worthy follow-up, and quite frankly, I prefer it. Wes Robinson as Lane steals the show for me. He's legitimately creepy and scary at times, and Callie Hernandez, you know what to do. My few issues are some of the first 30-ish minutes have pretty much nothing going on, which is typical for a Blair Witch movie. But I think it's tolerable compared to the original because of the friend group. I think that dynamic is more believable than what we get in the original. It's not perfect, but I did find myself very entertained, especially for the runtime. You can't beat it. Brian, good pick, man. Glad I got to rewatch it. I've only seen it one time, so it was good to go back and revisit. Can't wait to get back next week, and I promise to have a rating for Little Monsters by then as well. I don't really have a favorite or least favorite kill. I don't think any of them were like great or super creative. But, so yeah, man, I overall give the Blair Witch requel, if you will, a 7.25. I think that may be higher than some of my co-hosts there, but I really did enjoy it. I just want to give a shout out for those that will get this. P.S. 29 beers. See you guys next week.
All right. I'll go ahead and go. You can go last since it's your movie. I'm going to start with least favorite kill. Least favorite kill to me was Talia. Like, I get it. It looked cool because she was snapped in half, but how did it happen? Because if the witch could just snap people, then why didn't the witch just snap everyone else? Like, I don't know.
It was, I mean, you may know this, and so I may sound stupid trying to explain that, but it was the voodoo, like it was her hair being wrapped up in that witch symbol or whatever. So it was like kind of a voodoo thing. So when she snapped that tree in half, then her body snapped in half just like that. So,
I mean, that makes sense if that's the case. But if the witch was going to get her hair, why didn't the witch get everyone's hair? Like, it just seemed logically like it didn't work for me. I don't know. But getting folded up like a lawn chair was a cool optic. It didn't make sense to me. Maybe that's my fault. Favorite kills, probably none of them. Like, we got 6 people died in this movie, and to me, none of them were really good. If I had to pick one, I'll say Peter, just because it's an unconventional weapon to get smashed by a tree. Like, we don't get that, so we'll go with that one. And for the rating, like, look, I just don't think it's a good movie. I've watched it twice now. It didn't get any better with the rewatch. It actually got worse for me. The original is definitely supreme to me. I was a big fan of it when it came out. Like I said, it stuck with me, made me uncomfortable. But even it isn't great. Like, I wasn't on the show for that episode, like we've mentioned, but I retroactively gave it a 6 rating. So I think it's better than this one. You know, this one does capture some of that uneasy feeling in the woods, but it just failed to captivate me and make me really interested or care about it. So I'm going to give it a flat 5. I won't be too harsh, but I'll give it a 5.
Not bad. I'll take a 5 from you. Fucking shit.
Sorry.
That's crazy. that was crazy.
Oh, God damn it. I will not take a 5 from you. All right.
Thank you. Nor will I give it.
So, yeah, I really like the original. You know, obviously it's the nostalgia, the hype around it. Really before the internet, like we talked about, gave it so much, added to that movie so much. But I recognize its fault, and I'm not 100% sure what I rated it, but I rated it in the 6s, I think, as well, if I'm not mistaken, Dustin. But I love this one. And again, I think it's superior. I think it builds off the original in a very organic, even if sometimes fucking nuts way. But this movie, I think, kept me on the edge of my seat the entire thing. And not many movies can do that. Couple that with your least favorite kill in this movie. And it's one of my top favorite kills of all time in horror. But that's funny. But I'm going to boost our score up a little bit and give it an 8.75. Again, expect high scores from me this week, from this month, man. I love it.
8.7. You gave the original a flat 6. I just looked.
Okay,
but 8.75 on this one. I hell yeah, brother, do your thing. That gives us a composite score of a 5.583. IMDb has it as a flat 5.
Okay. See, we kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to give the movie a little praise. I feel like I didn't say anything good. Like that little stretch, like where Talia gets killed and the tent goes flying. I mean, that's a good set of scenes. Peter's death. Yeah. But like we kind of mentioned, it's like we know this isn't real because it's 2016. Right. It's a sequel, so it's not real. So the sense of dread's just not there for me. But it's still a pretty good set of scenes. Any more final thoughts? We just shout out the blood donors.
The only other thing I wanted to say is you're right. It's 2016 and we know what was going on with it. And actually the only reason I even watched this, kind of to piggyback off of what Dustin said earlier with Book of Shadows, is because I found out through the internet that it was a requel and a direct sequel to the first one, and the Book of Shadows doesn't exist. And so, the internet worked in my favor for this one for me to even watch it in the first place.
And then to kind of piggyback off that, like I said, I didn't watch this for so long because of how dog shit Book of Shadows was, but it was actually you're the reason, Brian, that I watched this. If you remember, we talked about it. I think it's been a couple years now, maybe not, but I bought it on Blu-ray, so I own the movie, and it's definitely better than Book of Shadows, which Randy Smith, I agree, is that movie's dog shit. Go Dogs.
And to piggyback, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to keep doing that. All right, let's shout out our blood donors. Can't thank y'all enough. The economy sucks right now, so we appreciate your financial contributions. Camper level reoccurring are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, Brian Samick, Trisha, and Kelsey Miller. Our camp counselor reoccurring are Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Jake Hambrick, Clay Moore, Karen, Matt Strickland, and Gail Kuntz. Just want to say thank y'all so much for your contributions. It means a lot to us. We really appreciate it. We're taking a break from our theme this month for someone's birthday, a big birthday. Go ahead, Brian, announce your pick for your birthday pick next week.
Yep. It's my 40th birthday. So this is going to be my last episode, guys, before I probably just pass out and die from being old, from old age.
Relax. Don't put that in the air.
1989's Ghostbusters 2 is the last one in the Ghostbusters franchise that we have not done. The new one comes out next summer, not to date the show, but that's my birthday pick. I'm super excited. You know how much I love this franchise. So, I don't think I've been this excited about doing an episode since probably Ghostbusters Afterlife, my last birthday. So
I was about to say, since the last time we did Ghostbusters.
I'm super pumped about it.
Oh, man. Ghostbusters episode is always one I'm most nervous for because I want to make sure I do the scene by scene to your standards for that movie. But super excited for it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited for this month. A lot of good picks.
Yeah.
Appreciate the fans and listeners. We really appreciate y'all's support. And y'all have a good one. We'll be back next week. Just want to remind everybody.